I snuck a DNA test into my baby's vaccine appointment, then screamed the results. You're telling me you actually went behind my back and did a DNA test on my child? My voice shook as I stared at the woman who'd raised my husband, standing in my living room like an avenging angel with a fistful of papers. I had every right. My mother-in-law's face twisted with rage. And now I have proof. Look at these results. Look at them. The papers trembled in her hands as she thrust them toward me, her voice rising to a shriek that made my baby start crying in her playpen. 23%. She screamed, jabbing her finger at the numbers. Only 23% shared DNA with my son. You've been lying to us all along. This baby isn't. Katarina. Today, I'm going to tell you a story about how my mother-in-law committed a crime, destroyed her own life, and learned the hardest lesson imaginable. All because she couldn't read a DNA test correctly. But before I continue, let me take you back to where this nightmare really began. You know how they say when you marry someone, you marry their family too? Well, nobody warned me I'd be marrying into what felt like a daytime soap opera written by someone who'd never heard of boundaries. It all started 4 years ago, when I met Harrison at a marketing conference in Austin. He was presenting on digital branding strategies, and I was there representing my advertising firm's latest campaign launch. During the lunch break, we literally collided in the hallway. He spilled his entire plate of barbecue all over my white dress. Oh God, I'm so sorry. He'd frantically grabbed napkins while I laughed it off, trying not to cry about my ruined outfit. It's fine. Really, this dress was practically begging for a reason to hit the dry cleaners. Anyway, that's how we met. Him mortified, me pretending not to be upset, and both of us talking for the next 4 hours straight, missing every afternoon session. We clicked instantly. Same sense of humor, same career ambitions, Sam. Obsession with true crime podcasts and terrible reality TV. Within 8 months, we were engaged. That's when I first met his mother, Vivien. So you're the girl who's stealing my baby boy. Those were literally her first words to me at their family's Thanksgiving dinner. The entire table went silent. Harrison laughed nervously, though I could see the tension in his jaw. Mom, come on. Don't start. She looked me up and down like I was a used car she was considering purchasing. Her. Well, at least you're attractive though. Beauty fades, doesn't it? Dear, I hope you have other qualities to offer. I should have run then. Should have recognized that massive red flag waving in my face. But love makes you ignore warning signs. And Harrison kept assuring me she'd warm up once she got to know me. Spoiler alert, she didn't. The wedding planning was an absolute nightmare. Every single decision I made, Vivien had an opinion and not a helpful one. You're not seriously wearing white, are you? She'd asked during my dress-fitting appointment, which she'd somehow found out about and shown up to uninvited. It's a bit presumptuous, don't you think, Mom? Harrison's sister, Natalie, had gasped from across the boutique. That's incredibly rude. What? I'm just saying what everyone's thinking. In my day, white meant something specific. Standards existed. My own mother, Patricia, bless her patient heart, tried to keep the peace. Now, Vivien, times have changed. Let the kids celebrate their love however they want. Love? Vivien had snorted, examining her manicured nails. Marriage isn't about love. It's about duty, family, continuing the bloodline properly. Yeah, she actually said continuing the bloodline like we were characters in a period drama about European royalty. The wedding itself went smoothly enough, mainly because my dad Thomas ran interference. He's this big, friendly guy who could charm anyone. And even he struggled with Vivien's constant criticism. That woman, he'd muttered to me during our father-daughter dance, makes a porcupine look cuddly. For the first year and a half of marriage, things were manageable. Vivien limited her toxicity to passive-aggressive comments during monthly family dinners, and the occasional helpful text message about how I was doing literally everything wrong. From how I cooked Harrison's favorite meals to how I organized our home. Then I got pregnant. You'd think news of a grandchild would soften her up, right? Make her realize that families should support each other. Wrong. It made everything exponentially worse. You're not seriously considering a natural birth, are you? She demanded during my second trimester. Showing up unannounced at our house one Sunday morning. Women in our family have narrow hips. You'll need a cesarean section. It's the only safe option. Actually, my doctor says I'm perfectly healthy for natural delivery. I'd replied as calmly as possible while Harrison squeezed my hand under the table. My measurements are all within normal ranges. Your doctor doesn't know our family genetics like I do. Harrison was a C-section baby. So was Natalie. You're being selfish and reckless, risking my grandchild's life for some trendy natural birth experience you probably read about on the internet. Harrison, as usual, tried to mediate without actually taking a firm stance. Mom, it's Catherine's choice. The doctor says she's completely fine. Oh, so now I'm not allowed to care about my own grandchild's safety. Is that what you're telling me? That became her favorite manipulation tactic, accusing us of not letting her care whenever we set perfectly reasonable boundaries. The real drama started when baby Sophia was born. Perfect, healthy, delivered naturally without a single complication. Take that, Vivien. But from day one, something felt off about how my mother-in-law acted around the baby. She scrutinized every detail with this strange intensity that made my skin crawl. She doesn't look like Harrison, Vivien announced in the hospital room literally 3 hours after I'd given birth, still exhausted and emotional. Not at all. Mom, she's a newborn, Natalie had said, rolling her eyes from her chair in the corner. They all look like little aliens at first. Give her time. No. Harrison had the family features from birth. Look at her nose. It's nothing like ours. And those eyes are far too light. Lots of babies are born with light eyes. My mother had interjected gently, though I could hear the irritation creeping into her voice. They often darken significantly over the first year. Vivien just pursed her lips and said nothing more. But I caught her staring at Sophia with this calculating, almost suspicious look that made me instinctively pull my baby closer. Over the next several months, the comments escalated into a relentless pattern. Every milestone, every feature, every single little thing about Sophia was scrutinized and found lacking in supposed family resemblance. She's too tall for her age. No one in our family reaches these height percentiles. Her hair is too straight. We all have natural waves. She smiled at the grocery store. Clark Harrison was extremely shy with strangers at this age. It was absolutely exhausting, like living under constant surveillance. But the breaking point, the moment everything exploded, came during Sophia's 6-month vaccination appointment. Vivien had volunteered to take her, because both Harrison and I had crucial work presentations that day. Are you absolutely sure? I'd asked hesitantly, my maternal instincts screaming warnings. It's a big responsibility, and she might be fussy after the shots. Please, she'd scoffed, waving away my concerns like annoying flies. I successfully raised 2 children. I think I can handle a simple doctor's appointment without supervision. Famous last words. The appointment was on a Tuesday. By Thursday, Vivien was acting strange. Well, stranger than her usual controlling self. She kept showing up at our house unannounced, staring at Sophia with this intense expression, then leaving abruptly without saying much of anything. It was deeply unsettling. Harrison noticed too. What's going on with your mom? I asked him Thursday night after she'd appeared at our door for the 3rd time that day. She's acting even weirder than normal. I don't know. She's been bizarre with me too. Keeps asking random questions about my blood type and family medical history. That should have been our first major clue that something was very, very wrong. Friday afternoon, I was working from home, taking a conference call in my office while Sophia napped peacefully in her nursery down the hall. Suddenly, I heard a car screech into our driveway with alarming speed. Through the window, I saw Vivien practically leap out of her silver Lexus, waving papers in the air like some kind of deranged conductor leading an invisible orchestra. She didn't even knock, just burst through our front door shouting, "I knew it. I knew it all along." I immediately ended my call and rushed to the living room where Sophia was starting to stir in her bassinet, disturbed by the commotion. "Vivien, what the hell? You'll wake the baby." "Good. Let her wake up. Let everyone wake up and see the truth about what you've done." "What truth? What are you talking about?" That's when she thrust the papers directly in my face. So close I had to step backward to focus on them. At first, I couldn't make sense of what I was seeing. Lots of numbers, percentages, medical terminology. Then I saw it clearly. DNA relationship test results. My blood ran absolutely cold. I could barely form words. You did a DNA test on my baby during her vaccine appointment. I had every right, she said triumphantly, her eyes wild with vindication. I paid the nurse extra to swab her cheek while giving the shots. And look at the results. My hands shook violently as I tried to read the document. According to this test, Sophia shared only 23% DNA with Harrison. This is impossible, I whispered, my mind racing through every possibility. There must be some kind of mistake. The only mistake was my son marrying a cheater like you. Vivien screamed at the top of her lungs. 23%. She's not even his child. You've been passing off some other man's bastard as my grandchild. That's when Sophia started crying. Not her usual fussy cry, but that heartbreaking wail babies make when they're genuinely frightened. I dropped the papers and rushed to pick her up, cradling her protectively against my chest. Don't you dare touch her. Vivien actually lunged forward, reaching for my baby. She's not even really family. Get out, I said, my voice deadly quiet, but filled with more rage than I'd ever felt. Get out of my house right now. I'm calling Harrison. I'm calling everyone in this family. They all need to know what kind of lying, cheating. Get out. She left, but not before promising this wasn't over. That everyone would know the truth, that I'd be exposed for the fraud she believed I was. I immediately called Harrison, barely coherent through my tears and panic. She did what? His voice turned to ice during a medical appointment. Without our consent, she says Sophia isn't yours. The test says 23%. But that's impossible, Harrison. You know that's impossible. You're the only man I know. He cut me off firmly. I know, Catherine. I'm leaving work right now. We are going to sort this out. While I waited for him, I called my sister Olivia. She's a pediatric nurse and literally the smartest person I know when it comes to medical matters. Wait, 23%. She sounded puzzled. Then I heard papers rustling. Catherine, did she test against Harrison's DNA or against her own? I don't know. The paper just says relationship test. Oh my God. Olivia started laughing. Actually laughing. Oh my God. What an absolute idiot. Catherine, grandparents share approximately 25% DNA with their grandchildren. If she tested against herself, thinking it would show 50% because Harrison is her son. The relief hit me so hard I literally collapsed onto the couch. She messed up the test. She probably ordered a basic relationship test online and completely misunderstood the results. Grandparents don't share 50% with grandchildren. That's not how genetics work at all. When Harrison got home 20 minutes later, I explained Olivia's theory. He looked at the papers more carefully, his expression shifting from concern to disbelief to anger. This isn't even a paternity test, he said, shaking his head. Look, it says grandparent relationship test. And here it says probability of biological grandparent relationship 99.9%. She completely misread the entire thing. So Sophia is definitely yours. He pulled me into his arms, holding both me and our daughter. Of course she's mine. God, Catherine, I'm so sorry. I can't believe my mother did this. But here's where the story gets really interesting. Because Vivien had already started her campaign to destroy my reputation. By that evening, my phone was exploding with texts and calls. She told everyone in the extended family that I cheated, that Sophia wasn't Harrison's child, that she had scientific proof of my betrayal. Vivien's sister, Margot, called me horrible names I won't repeat. Harrison's cousin started posting cryptic messages on social media about loyalty and family values, and how some people can't be trusted. Even Natalie texted asking if the accusations were true, if there was any possibility. We need to shut this down immediately, Harrison said, pacing our living room furiously. I'll call everyone, explained that she misread the test results. No, I said, surprising myself with how calm I suddenly felt. A strange clarity had settled over me. Let her dig her own grave. What do you mean? I smiled. Probably not a nice smile. Your mother just admitted to performing a medical procedure on our child without our consent. She stole our baby's DNA. Harrison, that's illegal. Like seriously illegal? His eyes widened as the implications sank in. You want to press charges? Oh no. I want so much more than that. See, Vivien had made a fatal error in her rush to expose me. She'd put everything in writing, the test results, her accusations, even a gleeful email to multiple family members about how she'd finally exposed the truth about me. Evidence, beautiful, documented, damning evidence. That weekend, while Vivien continued her smear campaign across the family network, we consulted with my cousin Benjamin, who happens to be a family law attorney. She's admitted to conspiracy, theft of genetic material, medical fraud, and arguably assault on a minor, he said. Reviewing all the documentation we gathered, plus textbook defamation with these false accusations she's spreading everywhere. This is actually a pretty serious case. I don't want to destroy her. I lied, knowing exactly what I wanted. I just want this to stop. Benjamin grinned knowingly. Oh, we'll make it stop. Monday morning, Vivien received a cease and desist letter via certified mail. By Monday afternoon, she was officially served with a comprehensive lawsuit. Medical assault of a minor, theft of genetic material, defamation of character, intentional infliction of emotional distress. Benjamin threw every possible charge at her. But the real consequence came when the pediatrician's office called us. Turns out the nurse who helped Vivien was her friend's daughter, and what they'd done together violated approximately a dozen medical ethics codes and several state laws. The office was conducting an internal investigation and had already contacted the state medical board. And did we want to press criminal charges? Yes, absolutely. Yes, we did. Vivien showed up at our house that evening. No longer triumphant or vindictive. She looked haggard, desperate, her usually perfect appearance disheveled. You can't do this to me, she pleaded through our locked front door. We refused to let her inside. I'm family. Family doesn't steal baby's DNA. I called back through the door. I was just trying to protect my son. Surely you can understand that. Protect him from what? Harrison shouted, his voice cracking with emotion. From his faithful wife and his biological daughter. What exactly were you protecting me from? Mom, I misread the test results. I see that now. Can't we just forget this happened? Move past it as a family. You told everyone Catherine was a cheater. Harrison continued. You called our baby a bastard. No, we absolutely cannot forget this happened. She tried everything over the next few weeks. Tears, guilt trips, sending relatives to beg on her behalf. But here's the thing about burning bridges. Sometimes they're not meant to be rebuilt. The nurse lost her license permanently. Turned out this wasn't her first ethics violation, just her last and most serious one. Vivien was criminally charged with custodial interference and conspiracy to commit medical fraud. She took a plea deal after her lawyer explained how badly a trial would go, 2 years probation, 200 hours of community service, and a restraining order keeping her at least 500 feet away from us in Sophia. But honestly, the social consequences were far worse than the legal ones for someone like Vivien. See, my mother-in-law had built her entire identity around being the perfect matriarch of a successful family. She served on church committees, sat on country club boards, chaired charity organizations. She was everywhere in her social circles, was being the operative word. Word spread fast in her wealthy, gossipy community. Did you hear what Vivien did? Stole her own grandchild's DNA during a medical appointment. Accused that sweet daughter-in-law of cheating with absolutely no real proof. All because she can't read a simple DNA test correctly. She was quietly asked to resign from the church auxiliary committee. The country club ladies stopped inviting her to their weekly luncheons. The charity board suddenly found they no longer needed her involvement. She's become a complete pariah. Natalie told me over coffee one afternoon, months after everything happened. Mom literally can't show her face anywhere without people whispering and pointing. Some of her former friends crossed the street to avoid her. I'm sorry, I said, not feeling sorry at all. Don't be. She brought this entirely on herself. I love my mother, but she's always been toxic and controlling. Maybe this will finally teach her something about boundaries and consequences. Spoiler alert, it didn't teach her anything. Instead of learning from the disaster she'd created, Vivien doubled down on playing the victim. She started a blog called Grandparents' Rights Denied. where she painted herself as a loving grandmother being cruelly kept from her grandchild by vindictive parents. She conveniently left out the entire DNA theft, false accusations, and criminal charges part of the story. That backfired spectacularly when someone, it was definitely Olivia, commented with links to the actual court documents, police reports, and news articles about the case. The blog lasted approximately 5 days before Vivien deleted it in humiliation. The financial consequences came next. Swift and brutal. Turns out when you become a social pariah in wealthy circles, your husband's business suffers dramatically. Harrison's father, Gregory, owned a successful real estate development firm that relied heavily on country club connections and social networking. Those connections started evaporating like morning dew. "I can't get a meeting anywhere," Gregory complained to Harrison during one of their increasingly tense phone calls. 30 years of business relationships gone. All because your mother couldn't mind her own business and had to create this massive scandal. Their marriage, already strained by years of Gregory enabling Vivien's controlling behavior, finally imploded completely. Gregory filed for divorce 6 months after the DNA incident, citing irreconcilable differences and incompatibility. In reality, he was tired of being married to someone who destroyed their social standing and damaged his business prospects. The divorce was uglier than anyone expected. Vivien, accustomed to a very comfortable lifestyle, fought viciously for every penny. But family court judges don't look kindly on grandmothers who steal DNA from babies and falsely accuse people of infidelity. She got the bare minimum the law required: the house, which had to be sold to split the equity, basic alimony for just 3 years, and a completely destroyed reputation. "I heard she's working retail now," Margot told me almost a year later. She'd apologized profusely once the full truth came out, and we developed an unexpected friendship. Can you imagine? Vivien, who used to lunch at the country club, now folding sweaters at a department store for $12 an hour. I could imagine it. And honestly, it felt like justice. But the real victory, the moment I knew we'd made the right decision, came at Sophia's 2nd birthday party. We'd invited everyone, my family, Harrison's family, minus Vivien, obviously friends, neighbors, colleagues. Our backyard was full of balloons, laughter, and genuine joy. Natalie pulled me aside during the cake-cutting ceremony. "You know what I just realized? This is literally the first family gathering in years where everyone actually seems happy. No walking on eggshells, no snide comments, no manufactured drama, just peace." She was absolutely right. Without Vivien's toxic presence poisoning every interaction, the family had begun healing. Relationships that had been strained for years were mending naturally. Gregory was dating a kind woman named Sharon, who actually smiled and laughed freely. Natalie's kids played without fear of harsh criticism. Extended family members who'd been avoiding gatherings started showing up again. As I watched Sophia smash her tiny fists into her birthday cake, surrounded by people who loved her unconditionally, I felt completely vindicated. Not happy about Vivien's downfall. Exactly. But satisfied that justice had been properly served. Actions have consequences. You can't steal a baby's DNA, spread vicious lies, and expect forgiveness just because you share bloodlines. Some bridges, once burned, are meant to stay as ashes. Vivien learned that lesson the hard way. Last I heard, she'd moved to a small apartment 2 towns over in a place where nobody knew her story yet. Her social media accounts, once full of carefully cured family photos and humble brags about her perfect life, went completely dark. The woman who'd ruled through manipulation and guilt trips had been reduced to nothing. No power, no influence, no family connections. Some people might say I should feel guilty about that I should have shown mercy, offered forgiveness, been the bigger person everyone always expects women to be. But you know what? Being the bigger person is vastly overrated when someone actively tries to destroy your life and reputation. Vivien made her choices consciously. She chose suspicion over trust. She chose control over love. She chose her ego over her family's well-being. Every single consequence that followed, the criminal charges, the social exile, the divorce, the financial struggles, the isolation, all of it stemmed directly from her decision to violate our trust and steal from our child. I don't feel bad about any of it. I feel free. Sophia is 4 years old now, by the way. She has Harrison's eyes and smile, my stubbornness, and a personality entirely her own. She's curious, kind, and absolutely fearless. She'll grow up knowing she's loved, wanted, and fiercely protected by parents who will always put her well-being first. She'll never know the grandmother who called her a bastard before she could even walk, who tried to erase her from the family tree based on a test she couldn't read correctly. And that's not a tragedy. That's a gift. Sometimes the best thing you can do for your family is remove the poison, even when that poison shares your DNA. Vivien taught me that lesson in the most painful way possible. In trying to prove Sophia wasn't really family, she proved that she herself never understood what family actually means. Family isn't about DNA percentages or blood quantum or genetic connections. It's about trust, respect, and unconditional love. It's about building each other up instead of tearing each other down. It's about protection, not violation. Vivien failed every single test that truly mattered. And unlike her botched DNA test, these results were accurate, conclusive, and completely irreversible. She made her bed. Now she gets to lie in it alone with nothing but her pride and bitterness to keep her company. If someone tried to erase your child from a family tree with stolen DNA and vicious lies, would you burn the bridge like I did? Or would you try to rebuild it?